So I'll introduce myself first. My name's Lee. I am a schools relationship executive for Sparx. And my background before joining Sparx was as an executive head teacher for 13 years. So I have a real interest in trying to make sure that students remain motivated. Usually my experience has been trying to motivate them while we're in school. We're in a very different situation now, and we want to hear from you and what your ideas are and how you are motivating your students while we are in this very unusual situation where most students are not attending school at the moment and are learning remotely. Before we move on to that, I'm going to introduce you to some of my colleagues. We have got Jackie here, Jackie Hobson, who is also a schools relationship executive. She will be keeping an eye on the chat. She'll be keeping an eye on the chat. Please put any ideas, any contributions you would like to make using the chat facility, and Jackie will monitor that, and she will interject for three reasons actually. I'll tell you about the third in a minute. The first reason is for some really interesting points and comments that you'll have made. She'll let us know about them. The second is to correct me when I go wrong or forget something. And the third will be right at the end, because she is going to be judging a competition that we're holding. We'd like to keep you amused. We'd like you to put in your very best maths puns if you possibly could. Any puns that go into chat, Jackie will be judging, and she'll announce a winner at the end of our session. We've also got Merrin Elban here, who works at Sparx. She's very shy, but she is our event organizer. Give us a wave, Merrin. Hello, lovely to see you. And the final person to introduce, our most important person today, is Hannah White. She is the head of maths at All Saints Academy in Plymouth, UK. They are big Sparx users, and Hannah is going to be helping me today because she's still a very, very excellent practicing teacher who is all aware of the need to maintain motivation amongst our students at this very difficult time. I'm just going to let Hannah introduce herself and give a little bit of background to All Saints.
Thanks so much, Lee. Hi, everyone. This is quite strange. So All Saints is quite a small secondary school in Plymouth. Small because we're trying to build up our reputation still, so we can house quite a few children, but at the minute we've only got about 700. We've got about 68% pupil premium, 98% white British, and we've in fact got 1 year group, year 9, I've got 80% pupil premium, so we're high up on the whole pupil premium scale. I started here in September 2018. I'm the assistant head of maths. Our school progress when I joined was minus 0.98, and we had about a 10% of pupils leaving with 5 GCSEs passed. So, you know, not great. So taking over the maths department, I'm really lucky to have such a wonderful team and who have been here through the school's journey for a long time. And Sparx is something that we have taken on. We had homework for 2 years now, and we've had classroom for this 1 year. And I'm a massive advocate for it. I can see the great it's doing already. And I'll stop talking, else I'll keep talking forever.
Thank you, Hannah. And Hannah will be sharing with us some of her ideas on how All Saints have been motivating their students, sometimes in very difficult circumstances. I'll do the housekeeping and then we'll get into the meat of the project. So usually when I'm introducing a conference, I'll be telling you where the toilets are. They're just up the stairs, the door straight ahead of you, but that won't work for most of you, only for me. I'm sure you know where your toilets are. The same goes for fire escapes. We're not planning to have a fire alarm. If there is a fire escape, you'll make your own way out. However, in terms of what we're doing here, please, we're asking all delegates if you could mute your microphones. If you would like to make a contribution, we would really welcome it. Just say, put a little note into the chat facility, something like hand up or I'd like to say something, and we will cut to you and you can switch your mic on. And the final thing to say is that this is being recorded. So if you wouldn't like to have your lovely faces on screen, you switch off your camera, but we would welcome, we'd like to see you if you're happy for that to happen. And we can now sort of proceed. So What we've got here is it's likely that some of you will already be experienced users of Sparx Maths. We've got two different products that it's worth mentioning here before we go on, because a lot of what we're talking about with motivation will refer to Sparx XP, and that appears in Sparx Maths Classroom and also in Sparx Maths Homework. It doesn't appear in Sparx Maths Virtual Classroom. XP stands for Experience Points, and they're awarded as a little motivational tool by the system when students complete a section of their work within Sparx. It's not a feature that appears within the virtual classroom that some of you I know will be using. So if we do refer to XP, my apologies to those of you that don't have it, but you could replace XP and with anything. It could be to do with lesson completion, it could be to do with the number of questions answered, it could be to do with the number of times that students sign on that is worth a reward or worth some sort of motivational plug for those students that have completed some aspects of Sparx Maths. So first, we're going to start off by sharing some of the ideas that we've gathered from schools that work with Sparx with you. And what we'd like you to do, if at all possible, is share and join in and make your contributions to any sorts of similar ideas that you've had. So we can see here, so we just put together a few ideas over the next couple of slides. What students really, really like in this very difficult time, they are missing their school friends, but believe it or not, they're going to be missing their teachers as well. And those little messages of praise or a well done or that individual contact really makes a difference for students. So a little email, a video message from the teacher, a phone call if possible, maybe to the highest XP scorer, someone who's completed all of their work, someone who's put in a great deal of effort, works a treat, we find. I'll let you into a secret. I've got a 14-year-old son who is getting fed up of lockdown at the moment. Each time he gets a phone call or an individual message from a teacher, you can just see him light up, and he's sort of reactivated and remotivated to carry on with his work. It does make a difference. We do a lot of teamwork when we're in our schools, and obviously working at home for students who are stuck on their own can be a little difficult. So here's an idea that we came up with. Encourage the students get to form teams of 2 or 3 as they're working remotely. If they're in touch with each other via Zoom or Google Meet or any other aspect that they might be able to team up, and get them to give themselves a team name. They will work then, and you give little rewards to the team that as a team achieves the most. It could be through gathering XP, it could be through the number of lessons they finish, the number of questions that they answer, but they may well work to drive each other on as a team. They'll have that little extra motivation. They're doing it for the team, not just for themselves. And then they get shout outs through email, through the video messages on the school website, something like that. And here, when I've explained this point, I'm going to let Hannah chip in with what I know. They do something amazing at All Saints linked to this, and it will give you an idea of the sort of situation that the school is in as well. But sending certificates by email for anything, it could be for completing the most lessons, could be coming up for the answer to the killer question that no one else did. And it's really lovely, isn't it? Wouldn't it be special for a student, if this were possible, to receive a hard copy of a certificate through the post because they've done something wonderful? And certificates can be for anything. And obviously we're going to link it into maths because of what we're talking about today, but the certificates could be anything. And now, Hannah, you tell us what goes on at All Saints with regards to some of the points on that screen.
Yeah, so we've been phoning our classes from the beginning, individual messages initially to try and chivvy people on, but now we're doing a lot of praise. We do the top 10 per year group XP points that week get a shout out, and that is on our social media pages, and it's also a certificate which we're able to send out, either posting it or a lot of them go home with their food parcels. So we are in regular contact weekly with a lot of families through giving out our food parcels. So it's quite easy to just drop them in there, and it gives them a little something extra when they're getting that through the door as well. We've also been running our Sparx Wars, like Star Wars. It was the 4th. It was very silly. And it was, again, top XP that week. That's the best thing about the XP, is it's not just overall. You can set it for 1 week only. And you know, the top, I think it was top 30 kids in the whole school got an Amazon voucher. So yeah, there's quite a few things on that list that we've been getting up to. We've started now producing certificates more for people who are just keeping up to date with their work, and then phoning people who we see are just dropping off, but we sort of throw the certificate out as a bit of a carrot and say, you know, if you can finish off that by the end of the week, then you have a certificate coming home. And you know, you get emails from parents saying how great it was and how proud of their child that they are, that they're one of the top. And especially on our Facebook page, if you mention any names, obviously we don't put full names, but the kids know who they are. And the parents underneath will straight away tag their own child and say, I'm so proud of you, I'm so proud of you. It is really lovely. So we just do as much personal as possible. Yeah, I've got a few more, but I'll leave it over to you, Liam. Come back to me in a bit.
Thanks, Hannah. Thank you. And then just 2 or 3 more ideas. In terms of building on this sort of team ethic, I know some of the schools that we support do this when we're working in school with Sparx, is that there is an award or a recognition to the highest performing class. And that doesn't necessarily mean the class that is best at maths. It might be the class that is deemed to put in the most effort, or again, answered the most questions, completed the most amount of homework. And again, it's that idea of working together as a team, and you are motivated to do a little bit more work than maybe if you were just seen as an individual, because you're doing it for the team. You don't want to let anybody down. And then, because of the unusual circumstances that we're in, we started looking at maybe some slightly more off-the-wall ideas and encouraging students to get involved in Sparx related challenges. So we know that we've got the games on Sparx that students can undertake when they finish a section of homework or a section of classwork. And we wondered if students might like to design a new game that we could put forward to our developers and so on, and see what they thought of it. It may be that they designed a Sparx trophy that could be awarded again. It could come to fruition and could be awarded to the class or the team for whatever reason the school deemed was appropriate. They could write a humorous Sparx poem about how much they love maths, or maybe how much they don't. And there could be a prize for the entries awarded by the school, but entries can only be accepted after the students have finished that day's work or that week's objectives while they're in lockdown. And again, it's a little additional incentive. You can enter the wonderful array of competitions that a school might come up with only when they finish their work for that week. And then we looked at, you know, a really big motivational one at the end of every fortnight or every week or half term, however often you were able to host something like this. We could have an online award ceremony, and then in front of all of their peers, if it was possible to get as many students logging into an online assembly at once as you could, winning students were called out in an online assembly for the wonderful work they've done or the wonderful effort that they've put in. And it would be just recognition in front of their peers. And of course, we could do the classic school thing of awarding as many certificates or as many honours as we possibly could to every student, just so all of them get that little boost and they think, yeah, it was worth doing that. So there's a really small selection of some of our ideas. Hannah, I'm sure, is going to add a few more. And then what we'd like is for you to start contributing, because there are a lot of us here today. It would be great to share as many ideas as we've got. If you feel brave enough to speak up, then do. If you'd rather keep quiet, do put your ideas into chat and Jackie will share them with us. So we'll go to Hannah while you think of some of your ideas, and then we'll open it up to the floor for you to share your ideas. Thanks, Hannah.
Hi, thanks again. I have to say, when I first saw that idea about a Sparx game or a Sparx poem, I sort of rolled my eyes a little bit and was like, yeah, as if they'll do that. But now I've heard it a few times, I actually really enjoy it, and I think we'll run with something like that next week, just to see what they come up with. Because I've been really pleasantly surprised with what the children have produced for other topics of run things like that. So, you know, we did a business in a box idea for business, and the entries that came in were amazing. So I think I've changed my mind a little bit on that one. I will go with that. And the online award ceremony, our school's being very funny about live lessons. So we are not allowed to calling at the same time. However, an adaptation of that I would definitely do is I'd sort of film myself doing an award, even like fake shake hands with the camera or something, so that there's a video that they can play that's you being a bit silly, but also it just encourages them to get involved. So I think those are two things that I've definitely taken from this, even though I didn't think I would, but now I will. So yeah, just a bit more about what we've been doing. Mainly everything is based around praise now. So we started off, and if we could do it all again, I would go back to the beginning and be a little less heavy-handed on this is what you must do, this is what you should be doing, and actually really focus on the good that the children they're all getting on with. One thing, just as a little side note, is to make sure that through these phone calls, we've actually noticed that a lot of children do not have access, because a lot of the parents have had to cut off the internet now because they just because of losing jobs, etc., etc. So as a school, we've had to come up with that, and luckily we've got lots of Chromebooks. So that was one of our first things we did, is making sure everybody had a Chromebook with a little dongle thing so that they can actually access it. So that's one thing that maybe actually if your completion rates are quite down, maybe just have a little think about that. And then other than that, it's just and one thing to keep them motivated that we have been doing that's worked nicely is we do have an online sort of chat sessions, because nothing kills motivation more than when they can't do it. They'll do one question, you'll get an email and it will say can't do it, full stop, done. So we have an online Google Meet like this. It's got 2 members of staff in, but not on the camera, and they can join in and just type in any questions that they're stuck with. And we've been giving sort of points and shout outs for anybody that uses that system. Can't say lots of children use it, but the ones that are keen and want to get on, at least they've got an access point for their help. So that's something that's worked for us as well. And yeah, anytime any child emails a picture, they normally take a picture of their maths question that they can't do. I've either sent back a little video where I've written over the top of the questions, or I've just sent back a picture of some help for them, and they've really appreciated that. But yeah, I can't think of anything more that we do right now. So does anybody else like to jump in with anything extra that they've got, that they've been doing, that they found really boosted motivation, or any problems you may be having that you think the team, the 23 people here, might be able to help out with? Oh, we'll have a bit of silence.
What I will say, Hannah, hopefully everyone that's with us in the meeting can see why we asked Hannah to help us along. Not only it would have been very easy to have gone to a very high performing school in a very nice area with 100% handing, because those students are easy to motivate. Hannah and her team do an amazing job of motivating students in very difficult circumstances, and that can be a lot of work, and teachers do have to go to a lot of effort. But I think you can see from the way Hannah talked about it, the rewards that they get back are really worth all of that effort that they do go to make sure those students are motivated. We would love to hear some of your ideas. People are being very, very quiet and shy. Even if it's just, we'll help you out with the pun competition. The volume of responses is quite low at the moment.
Oh, silly.
Sorry. Right, okay. Right, we'll have a look at, we've got, so we'd love to hear from you at any point about other ways that you're keeping students motivated. And we looked at, we thought about some other, sorry?
Sorry, just before we go on, we've got a question here for Hannah.
Yeah.
Are you using Sparx with all your year groups?
Oh, good question. Thank you. So yes, short answer is we do have Sparx for all year groups. Sparx homework was only introduced for all year groups as of January this year. Do the completion rates differ? Yes, they do. We've got quite a, it doesn't deteriorate as the years go on. We've got very keen year 7s, very keen year 8s. Year 9 is our problem year at the minute. I can't really say why. They've just sort of, as a collective, they haven't got on board with Sparx as much as the other year groups. So they're the ones, and they are the 80% pupil premium year groups. They are a little bit harder to motivate. We're harder to get hold of in general as the school doing schoolwork. But yes, so the rates do differ. With our year 10s, we have enrolled all year 10s into actually a Google Classroom. That's something we've moved to as a school, which is kind of like it means you can sort of live chat to them in the day, and you can sort of praise them as they're doing it. So we're trying to move towards like saying to the year 10s, right, 10 o'clock, that's our Sparx hour, I'll be on. And because you can see live action what is happening, you can praise live action. So I can sort of say, oh, well done, Holly, I can see you struggled on that question, but now you've got it right, because I can see what is happening. But yeah, the long and the short answer to your questions are yes, with all year groups, and yes, they do differ, but not what I thought it would be. I thought it'd be very much year 7s keynotes and then tail off, but actually it's a bit up and down.
So can I ask, Hannah, how have, say, completion rates, either for classwork that you're setting students or for homework tasks that they might be set during lockdown been affected?
So lockdown, so hugely affected it. So before lockdown, so I've had quite a few meetings with various people in the trust about this. So before lockdown, we were on sort of the 80% average completion rate for homework, and then the first week of lockdown it went down to around about 40%, which was a real shock. And then so I've had to come up with ideas of what we could do. So we were initially running lessons and homework, and the children spread around their own rumour that they didn't need to do homework anymore, which was very unhelpful. So, and that's why I did Sparx Wars. So we stopped doing the lessons for a week, and we said, right, any homeworks you haven't done, you must now complete. So that means that the children had a whole week to go back over and just do their homeworks, which has boosted our percentages back up again. They're not at the 70% at all, but they've gone up from the 40 to around about 60, which is much better. And it's something that we're still pushing all the time. I'm not sat here saying I've got 100% rates. I've never had 100% rates, but we do all we can to try and get them. How often am I setting work? So they have weekly homework, and that's set on every Wednesday and in on every Wednesday, and that's been the same since September, so we didn't want to touch that. And then we are also doing lessons that have almost like three school lessons of objectives in, so 3 Sparx lessons objectives. So we have the Sparx package, so we can build our own lessons. So they have 3 lesson objectives, and they complete 1 objective a day. So the idea is that they do about an hour. Each objective has got the core extension challenge, so they should finish as much of that as possible per day, and then they have their homework on top. How to do collaborative learning effectively in virtual teaching? That's a good question, which I do not have the answer to. So the question from Ginny is how to do collaborative learning effectively in virtual learning. I'm not sure Sparx is the platform for collaborative learning. I love Sparx, so I'm not dissing it, but I'm quite an advocate for the sort of individuality of it. The children will get their own individual questions, so that they can't copy each other. So I'm not sure where that fits in right now, but in the classroom it's something to work on. Need some support to teach constructions in virtual teaching. Yes, definitely. We need. Oh, yes. So constructions as a topic just is. I mean, that's hard to teach anyway, but through virtual learning, it's nigh on impossible, I believe. One, because my students don't have the equipment. So that's something that, you know, as Sparx doesn't have it online either, there's quite a few offline lessons that we are remembering right now. We're building a little bank of them, and it's almost when they come back, we're going to start with those just to make sure that we haven't missed them out, make sure they get some good practice on it. So Sparx is absolutely amazing, but there's very much still a need for teacher input and the teachers remembering what the students are doing and what they haven't done, what they've done well in. So yeah, Sparx is one hell of a tool to make sure that content that they're getting at home is really, really high level. Any other questions, or Lee, do you want to carry on?
No, you're doing a great job, Hannah. Fine. Thank you. You do my job for me. Okay. One of the things we've sort of touched on here, some of the aspects that I mentioned on this slide already, particularly with Hannah's contribution about supporting students in difficult home circumstances. That applies at All Saints more than many of the schools I've supported in the past. She's also touched upon maintaining motivation when students have connectivity issues. The school have come up with a brilliant solution to that. The final point on that slide, I think, is really, really important for students who have been stuck at home now for 11 weeks or more in the UK and different lengths of time in other countries around the world, is that parental role in motivation. And you know, from a Sparx point of view, we don't have an answer to that. I'd love to hear how schools, so that we can share it with lots of our colleagues who are working in schools in the same situation as you. How are you ensuring that parents are able to support their students, and parents are motivated to support their students and maintain the student motivation? I think that's a really important point that maybe we don't talk about or think about often enough, is the role that parents are playing in everything that's happening here. It's not just a matter of handing them Sparx work and saying, get on with it and we'll give you a certificate at the end of it. It's supporting the parents to support their students as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Parent things, I think we could do a whole one on parent motivation. I've just seen a couple more questions, Lee.
Yeah.
So, from Philippa, what percentage of students are not engaging in lessons since lockdown as a school? So this isn't, our pupils are either engaging or they're not. So they're either doing all their work, including their Sparx, or they are not. Ours has dropped to around about 50% of the pupils, and it's really hard. We have daily phone calls, as I say, but there's only so much carrot you can give. But once we're all back in the building, we're going to come up with a bit more of a plan as to who we can get back in the building. Whether we can sort of suggest that they might actually be a key worker child, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and see if we can get some just a little bit more contact. John Ambrose, do you want to share what you do in terms of collaborative learning? I'd love to hear.
Yeah, we would, John. Love to hear from you.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Ambrose from the Middle East, and I work in a school called St. Mary's in Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates. So we wanted to try out something with collaborative learning. So in the beginning of virtual learning, there was interest among students. One main reason was they were able to collaborate with their friends. They were able to communicate with them, see each other online. And then as class progressed, there was students returning back to silence. They were passive listeners. They lacked involvement. So to make it a little more interesting, what we did, usually in a class, in a presentation, we add YouTube videos or videos from the Pearson platform as reference for them to go on with the learning. So I wanted to try out something new. So based on the videos that are already available, I selected a bunch of students, say a very small group of 5, and made them go through that video. We were all in a Google Meet session. We discussed how this can be incorporated as a collaborative learning. And then we came up with an idea that each student will take part in explaining the same concept. We were actually explaining angles in the same segment on the topic circle theorems, the theorem. So each student, one started with the introduction, one started with the materials required to do it, and step by step, every student took roles, recorded their part, and finally one of them merged them together. And on the next day, while starting the lesson, instead of showing a YouTube video, we were able to present the video made by their own friends. Fantastic. So by that way, students were able to collaborate, and the ones who saw it, they were also awestruck and they were surprised to see their friends presenting. Mm-hmm. So by this way, we were able to motivate students into doing the activities and take participation in them. And as a reward, what I did was, we have so many sites online which give us templates to make PowerPoints. So the group which did the project or the video, I gave them the site, told them to select their own favorite PowerPoint template. So they took a screenshot of it and sent it back to me. And I used those templates on every lesson to thank them for their contribution. This is what we had done.
Oh,
I don't know if it would be successful in across all topics and in all age groups, but we were able to see some difference among students. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really also mixes up their diet of what they've been doing. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you. That was really interesting.
Yeah, thank you, John. And the other thing, if you, I think you're right saying it would only apply to a particular selection of objectives, but then you wouldn't want to do that for every objective. Doing it like, again, this idea of mixing up the diet, I think that's a brilliant idea in terms of motivation, teamwork, collaboration. All of that works on the level that you just shared with us. So thank you for that, John, very much.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure.
Ginny's put another question saying any other assessment other than MCQ, but I haven't been in the building long enough, or I'm still in half-term mode. What does MCQ stand for? Because I'm done with my acronyms right now. So
MCQ stands for multiple choice questions.
Thank you. Right. Any other, so that might be one for you, Lee. Is there any other assessment other than the multiple choice questions, I suppose?
The quick answer to that is no, there isn't. In terms of assessments within Sparx, I mean, it could be that teachers pull together particular objectives or use Sparx questions away from the Sparx platform to provide assessments for students. But at the moment, we don't have a particular module, for example, that acts as an assessment within Sparx. Is that right, Jackie?
Yeah, I was just going to say we do, if you follow the Sparx scheme of learning, we do assessments. It's slightly different, but we do them at the beginning and end of each half term. So it's the same one, say in September, as it is just before October half term. And so there's 6 of them over the 6 half terms. And so you see what they've learned at the beginning and then what their progress is over those 6 weeks. So we do offer those, and they are very much linked to the Sparx scheme of learning, but it is something that our research team is looking into. But no, you're right, Lee. Other than that, yeah. That's right.
There isn't actually anything on the Sparx platform itself. Yeah.
Nothing on the actual Sparx platform itself. It is something that we've been looking at. But yeah, I think it's going to be further back in the roadmap now, but we'll let you know because I think quizzes and things would be fantastic on the actual platform itself. Yeah.
I also think just on that one though, one thing to really remember is, because it's something that we speak about quite a lot as a team, is actually, sorry Adrian, I'm going to be 5 minutes. So I knew I'd get
Hannah's about to be kicked out of school.
What was I saying? Assessment. My train of thought has gone. Come back to me in a minute. It will come back, I'm sure.
Okay. We have slightly overrun. John's just asked whether the session recording can be shared, and yes, we will share it. If it is something that you would like, we're able to share that. Yes, we are.
Lee, I've remembered where I was going. Sorry.
Go on, Hannah. Assessments.
It was that actually, if you really want to, you can dig down to it in a student level by looking at what questions they have been asked regularly. So Sparx being the clever little thing that it is, if you can see that your student is continually getting a fractions question every week, that tells you that that child has not mastered fractions yet. But if another one is not getting them, that tells you that every time that they've had a question come up, they've nailed it first time. So you can do sort of quite a lot of snooping into your individual classes. And in the insights button as well. That's really powerful if you have access to that. That's the best button in Sparx, in my opinion. So yes, insights is your way forward in terms of assessments, in terms not giving them a test but knowing where they are.
Thank you, Hannah. We've just had a really good question in, which is how have we been getting parents more involved? Hannah, I mean, I would say that the experience we've had from other schools is that when they make a phone call to a student, they try to speak to the parent as well, just to make sure the well-being of the student is okay and offer an idea or two to the parent. This could also be in sort of generic emails and generic messages and YouTube messages to parents rather than just to students. We've got the idea of the Sparx communication anyway. There's an email that goes to parents every week regarding homework. That wouldn't necessarily give ideas on motivation. It's a record of what the student has been doing, but it is a contact and it is a reminder to parents to keep supporting their students. But again, like with the students, we find the parents respond very much to the individual touch. So a phone call, an email, or some sort of presentation is always very useful. Hannah.
Yes, so on parent, my video's just come on parent motivation. I've literally just, as you've been talking, I've been thinking of something we could do next week, and it brings in kind of John's idea as well. Might think about introducing a competition of teach your parent. So set one topic, for example, collecting like terms, something that parents will have forgotten, but it's quite easy to teach, and almost send in a little video of teach your parent or sending a picture of their work. So that could be something that we do normally to get the parents involved with. We do ring home and we talk about it and try and shut down the sentence starter of I'm not very good at maths or I never needed maths, because that's quite poisonous in a home. So we just encourage the fact that the parent doesn't need to know the maths, but the way they can help is by sitting and watching the video and making notes. So we really stress that even if they don't know the maths, they can help their child by sitting down with them, watching the video with them, making notes with them. And then we also stress that, any child who's getting upset over maths, it's gone too far and they just need to stop and ring or email their teacher. The last thing I want is children crying over math problems or getting cross about it. So we've just really encouraged parents to open the dialogue with their maths teacher and just say, I'm struggling, can you help? And the answer is always yes.
Thank you, Hannah. And we've just had a winner, haven't we,
Yeah.
Jackie?
Would
you like to announce it?
Yes, Lee is obviously disqualified anyway on the ground. He's a Sparx member of staff, so he's not allowed to win the prize. And so, yes, our winner is John. You are the winner of the competition. So congratulations, John. Fantastic fun.
Thank you so much.
Your prize, John, we'll send you a recording of this meeting. There you go.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Can we thank a big thank you to Hannah? We do appreciate you giving up your time and sharing your ideas with us. I'm sure I've certainly found it useful. I've got some more ideas to take away to other schools to share with them. Thank you so much for all you've done there, Hannah. We really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. I've just put my Twitter handle, self-promotion, in the chat box. If anybody wants to carry on the conversation, you can message me on Twitter. And yeah, Miss White Maths is my @ So see you there if you're there.
Thanks, Hannah. We would also welcome, thank you to everybody that attended and everybody that took part. We do appreciate you, again, giving up your time to attend the webinars. I hope you found it useful. What we'd like, if at all possible, if you can offer us some feedback. Jackie, is it probably the best way to do that is via email, I'd have thought, is that right?
Yeah, I think via email might be the best way, or I'll have a quick chat with Francis, see if we've got any questionnaires that we can send out. Yeah.
Okay. What we'll do to everybody that's attended, we've got your number. We will send you a link that you may be able to send some feedback to us. It'd be lovely to hear what you've got to say. And if on that feedback form you wanted to offer any more ideas on student motivation that we could share with everybody, that again would be a wonderful thing for us to have. So we will sign off now. Thank you to everybody. We hope you found it useful, and we'll see you again soon for the next one. If you are interested, we are already thinking, Hannah and I, that the next webinar will be something along the lines of student motivation once the students are back in school. So there are two aspects to that. One is keeping the students motivated after they spent all this amount of time at home and they're going back to school after such a long time out. And then how do you keep students motivated to be doing Sparx week after week when they're in, for an extended period working with Sparx especially if they're using it in the classroom every day. So we'll continue the theme of student motivation when they're back in school. Do look out for other webinars that will be coming up on a whole range of topics from Sparx. We'd love to see you again. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Huge thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Take
Bye.
care.